Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the weight of your breath, the rise and fall of your chest, and the simple miracle of being alive in this very moment. So much of our suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from our endless attempts to control life, grasping, resisting, fearing, demanding. But what if peace comes not from control, but from release? This is the wisdom that Buddhism has carried across centuries, offering us a way to stop chasing control and to live with freedom and serenity. Buddhism began more than 2,500 years ago in the plains of northern India with the life of a young prince named Siddhartha Gautama. He was born into luxury, surrounded by everything he could ever desire. His father, the king, tried to shield him from all suffering, but no walls can hide the truth of existence. When Siddhartha saw old age, sickness, and death for the first time, his world shattered. He realized that no matter how much control we try to have, life will always bring impermanence. Everything changes, youth fades, health declines, and life eventually ends. Instead of clinging to wealth or power, Siddhartha left it all behind. He became a seeker, wandering forests, studying with teachers, meditating, starving himself in search of answers. And then, beneath the Bodhi tree, he awakened. He saw that suffering is born from craving, from our desperate attempts to control what cannot be controlled. And he discovered a path not of escape, but of peace. From that moment, he was no longer just Siddhartha, but the Buddha, the awakened one. His teachings spread like ripples across the waters of Asia. Kings, scholars, monks, and ordinary villagers carried the Dharma truth of impermanence, compassion, and mindfulness. In China, it blended with Taoist simplicity, becoming Zen, the path of sitting still, of emptying the mind. In Japan, it transformed into quiet rituals of tea, gardens, and the art of presence. In Tibet, it took on the deep sound of chants, mantras, and colorful prayer flags fluttering in the wind. Across the centuries, Buddhism has adapted, not as a fixed doctrine, but as a living breath, ways reminding us of one truth. Control is an illusion, but peace is possible when we let go. Today, Buddhists around the world continue to live this wisdom in their daily rituals and practices. A monk rising before dawn, his head shaved, his robe wrapped around him, walking silently through the village with a bowl knot, begging, but offering others a chance to practice generosity. A family lighting incense before a small shrine at home, bowing 3 times, not to worship a god, but to honor mindfulness and gratitude. A Zen practitioner sitting cross-legged in silence, counting the rhythm of the breath, letting thoughts drift away like clouds across an empty sky. Even in modern cities, you can find echoes of this practice. In New York, London, Dhaka, or Tokyo, groups gather to meditate in simple rooms, disconnected from the rush of the outside world. The sound of a bell calls them back to presence. No phones, no noise, no competition, no stillness. It is in these small acts, repeated daily, that Buddhism reveals itself, not as a religion of rigid rules, but as a living practice of peace. At its heart are timeless principles: compassion, loving kindness, mindfulness, and non-attachment. Compassion, or karu'a, is the courage to see another's suffering and respond with tenderness instead of judgment. Loving kindness, or metta, is the practice of wishing happiness not only for ourselves, but for all beings, those who have hurt us. Mindfulness, or sati, is the art of returning to the present moment over and over again. Instead of being trapped in the prison of regret or anxiety. And non-attachment is not cold indifference, but freedom, the wisdom of knowing that clinging does not protect us. It only creates suffering. These teachings may sound ancient, but they are more relevant than ever. In our modern world, we are drowning in stress, anxiety, and constant pressure. We chase success, wealth, relationships, likes, followers, control over every detail of life. The more we chase, the emptier we feel. We scroll endlessly, searching for something we cannot name. And the more we resist the natural flow of life, the more restless we become. Here is where Buddhism speaks directly to us. It reminds us that we cannot stop change, but we can stop suffering by changing how we relate to change. We cannot hold back time, but we can live deeply in each moment we are given. We cannot control what happens tomorrow, but we can breathe fully into today. When we loosen our grip, when we stop demanding that life obey us, we find something softer, deeper, and infinitely more real. Peace. Think of the way water flows around rocks in a stream. It doesn't resist, it doesn't fight, it doesn't cling. It simply moves, adapts, and finds its way. This is the way of Zen, gentle, patient, alive. When we stop chasing control, we begin to move like water. We stop resisting what is. We start living with acceptance, openness, and love. Buddhism's influence on modern society is profound. Stress reduction techniques in hospitals, to Zen-inspired minimalism in design and lifestyle, its wisdom is woven quietly into the fabric of our daily lives. CEOs meditate before meetings. Therapists guide patients to focus on breath. Artists seek stillness before creating. Ordinary people across the world are discovering what monks knew long ago. Peace is not somewhere out there, is within us, waiting beneath the noise. And so, let us pause here together. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath slow down. Let go of the illusion that you must control every outcome. Imagine your worries like leaves floating on a river, carried gently. Downstream, you don't need to hold them. You don't need to fight them. Just let them go. Life will always change. People will come and go. Joy and sorrow will dance side by side. But through it all, you can remain steady, rooted in awareness, free from the chains of control. This is the gift of Buddhist wisdom. This is the invitation of Zen to stop chasing, to stop resisting, and simply to be dot. So the next time anxiety rises, remember the Buddha's journey. Remember that clinging only deepens suffering. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, and whisper to yourself, I do not need to control this moment. I only need to be present for it. And in that presence, you will discover a peace so vast, so luminous, that no storm can take it away. After the Buddha's awakening beneath a Bodhi tree, his life became a gift to the world. He did not keep his wisdom to himself. Instead, he walked barefoot across villages and kingdoms, teaching anyone who wished to listen, rich or poor, kings or farmers, men or women. His words were simple, but their truth was profound. Life is suffering. Suffering comes from craving. But there is a path to peace. This path, the Eightfold Path, was not a commandment, not a punishment, but a gentle guide for living wisely, compassionately, and mindfully. Imagine the India of that time, vast forests, wandering ascetics, and small villages surrounded by rice fields. The Buddha traveled among them, accompanied by monks who left behind possessions and family ties to walk with him. These monks carried only a robe, a bowl, and a heart committed to awakening. When they entered a village, they did not ask for wealth. They stood silently with their bowls, and whatever food was placed inside became their meal for the day. This was not begging, it was an offering, a chance for people to practice generosity, to let go of attachment, even in small ways. Over time, powerful kings heard of this sage who spoke of peace instead of conquest. One of the most famous was King Ashoka, centuries after the Buddha's passing. At first, Ashoka was a ruthless conqueror. But after witnessing the suffering his wars caused, his heart broke open. He turned to the Buddha's teachings and became one of the greatest patrons of Buddhism. Under his rule, monasteries flourished. Stone pillars inscribed with the Buddha's words were raised across India, and the Dharma spread far beyond its birthplace. Buddhism began to travel first to Sri Lanka, carried by Ashoka's own children, then across the seas to Southeast Asia, where it grew into vibrant traditions in Thailand, Myanmar, and Cambodia. In these places, Buddhism took root in golden temples where monks chanted softly at sunrise, and villagers made offerings of rice and flowers in China. Buddhism encountered Taoism and Confucianism, and it transformed. It became Chan, later known as Sin in Japan, a form of Buddhism that emphasized silence, meditation, and direct experience over scriptures and words. Zen masters would sometimes answer questions with riddles, or even with a shout, a gesture, or a laugh, showing that enlightenment is not in complicated theories, but in the simplicity of now. In Tibet, Buddhism merged with ancient spiritual practices, creating a colorful and profound path of mantras, mandalas, and teachings that filled the mountains with prayer flags dancing in the wind. Each flag carried a prayer, not just for the person who hung it, but for all beings everywhere. This spirit of universal compassion became the heart of Tibetan Buddhism. What is remarkable is how Buddhism adapted to each culture it touched without losing its essence. Whether in the quiet gardens of Kyoto, the vast monasteries of Tibet, or the forest hermitages of Southeast Asia, the core remained the same. Life is impermanent. Suffering can be eased, and peace is found not by clinging, but by letting go. The influence of these early centuries was profound. Buddhism did not spread through conquest or force. It spread through compassion, through the simple presence of those who lived the teachings. Wherever it traveled, it softened hearts, guided rulers to govern with kindness, and gave ordinary people a way to live with dignity and peace. Even today, when we look back at these ancient times, we see not just history, but a mirror. The struggles of that era, fear, greed, suffering, are the same struggles we face now. And just as those people found hope in the Buddha's words, so can we. The past reminds us that this wisdom is timeless, not bound by culture or century, but alive in every breath we take. If we step into the present day, we find that Buddhism is not just a memory of the past, it is a living, breathing way of life. Across the world, from quiet villages in Southeast Asia to bustling cities in the West, Buddhists continue to practice the same wisdom that was first spoken beneath the Bodhi tree. And while the world has changed in countless ways, the essence of these practices remains simple: awareness, compassion, and presence. Picture a Buddhist monk rising before dawn. The sky is still dark, the air cool and silent. He wraps himself in his robe and walks barefoot into the streets with his alms bowl. He does not knock on doors. He does not ask for food. He simply walks. Villagers come out of their homes with rice, fruits, or vegetables, placing them gently into his bowl with bowed heads. For the monk, this is nourishment. For the villagers, this is generosity. It is a daily ritual that binds a community together, reminding everyone that life is not about taking, but about sharing. In homes around the world, you may see a small shrine, perhaps a simple statue of the Buddha, candles, or fresh flowers. Families gather, bow 3 times, light incense, and sit quietly for a moment. This is not worship of a god. It is a reminder of mindfulness, of gratitude, of humility before the impermanence of life. The flickering flame of a candle, the rising smoke of incense, the delicate beauty of flowers all symbolize the passing nature of existence. In Japan, the spirit of Zen lives not only in temples, but in daily rituals. The tea ceremony, for example, is not about drinking tea, but about presence. Each movement is deliberate, each gesture filled with awareness. Pouring the water, whisking the tea, offering the bowl, these simple actions become meditation, reminding us that peace is not found in grand achievements, but in ordinary moments lived fully. In Tibet, the sound of chanting fills the mountain air. Monks recite mantras, their voices deep and resonant, carrying prayers for the well-being of all beings. Prayer wheels spin in the hands of the faithful, each turn believed to release compassion into the world. In high monasteries, intricate mandalas of colored sand are created with painstaking care, only to be swept away when completed, teaching the truth of impermanence in a single, breathtaking act. But Buddhist practice is not limited to monks or rituals. It has entered modern life in countless ways. In meditation centers in Europe, America, and beyond, ordinary people gather after work, sitting together in silence, focusing on the breath. In schools, children are taught mindfulness, learning to pause and breathe when emotions rise. In hospitals, doctors and patients alike use meditation to ease stress, pain, and fear. Even in corporate offices, moments of mindfulness are becoming a way to balance the chaos of modern business at its heart. Buddhist practice is about integration, bringing awareness into daily life. Washing dishes can be meditation if done with presence. Walking to work can be a prayer if each step is conscious. Even eating can become sacred if we taste every bite with gratitude. The ritual is not in the object or the action, it is in the awareness we bring to it. What is truly beautiful is that you do not need to be a monk. You do not need to live in a temple. You do not even need to call yourself Buddhist to practice. These teachings, anyone, anywhere, can pause, breathe, and return to the present moment. Anyone can choose compassion over anger, kindness over judgment, acceptance over control. The modern lifestyle of Buddhists is a reminder that spirituality is not something separate from life itself. It is found in the way we speak to others, in the way we care for ourselves, in the way we respond when challenges arise. And in a world that moves faster and faster, these small, mindful practices are like anchors, holding us steady, reminding us to slow down, to breathe, and to live. At the very heart of Buddhism lies a set of timeless principles, yet powerful enough to transform the way we live and see the world. These teachings are not heavy rules or distant ideals. They are living truths, seeds planted in the soil of human experience, waiting to blossom in anyone who nurtures them. The first is compassion, karu, up. Compassion is the ability to look into the eyes of another and truly see their suffering. Not to turn away, not to judge, but to open the heart. Compassion is the hand that reaches out when someone falls. It is the soft word spoken when anger could have been chosen. It is not pity, not superiority. Is the recognition that we are all fragile beings walking through the same storm of impermanence. In compassion, we realize that helping another is not a duty, but a shared breath of humanity. Alongside compassion is loving kindness meet be. This is the wish for all beings to be happy, safe, and free from suffering. Imagine for a moment sitting quietly, closing your eyes, and repeating, "May I be happy. May I be well. May I live in peace." Then, extending it outward, "May you be happy. May you be well. May you live in peace." And then, even further, may all beings, near and far, known and unknown, be happy, be well, live in peace. This practice softens the hardest corners of the heart, dissolving hatred and fear, and planting seeds of gentleness in their place. Another core principle is mindfulness. Say, mindfulness is the art of living awake. Too often, we live like sleepwalkers, trapped in thoughts of yesterday or fears of tomorrow. We eat without tasting, we walk without noticing, we speak without listening. Mindfulness calls us back to the present moment, the only place where life truly exists. When we breathe with awareness, when we eat with gratitude, when we listen deeply, we awaken. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The simple becomes sacred. Then there is the wisdom of non-attachment. Many misunderstand this as indifference, as if Buddhism teaches us not to care. But the truth is the opposite. Non-attachment means to love without clinging, to live without demanding permanence from what is impermanent. It is knowing that joy is real, but fleeting, that sorrow will visit, but also pass. It is the freedom to open your hand and let life flow through it, instead of gripping so tightly that you crush the very beauty you long to hold. Non-attachment does not mean coldness. It means freedom. The freedom to love deeply without fear, to live fully without chains. All of these principles are held together by the deeper spiritual philosophy of Buddhism, that life is impermanent, interconnected, and ever-changing. Nothing exists alone. Every being, every breath, every flower, every star is woven into the same vast tapestry. When we see this interconnection, selfishness melts away. We realize that harming another is harming ourselves, that kindness is not an obligation, but a natural expression of this oneness. And at the root of it all is the noble eightfold path, the Buddha's gentle guidance for living wisely. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These are not commandments, not rigid rules. They are like stepping stones, leading us away from suffering and toward awakening. Each step reminds us to live with awareness, with honesty, with compassion, and with a heart free from clinging. These principles are not abstract. They are invitations. Every moment gives us a choice to live mindlessly or to live with awareness, to harden or to soften, to cling or to release. And with every choice, we shape not only our own life, but the world around us. When we embody compassion, we ease suffering. When we practice loving kindness, we dissolve hate. When we live mindfully, we awaken to the miracle of existence. When we release attachment, we discover a peace so vast that nothing can take it away. This is the heart of Buddhism, not a dogma, but a way of being. A way that teaches us to stop chasing control, to stop resisting the flow of life, and instead to open, to trust, to be. Today, thousands of years after the Buddha walked barefoot across the dusty roads of India, his wisdom continues to flow like a river, touching every corner of the world. And perhaps what is most astonishing is how relevant it remains in our modern age, a world that looks nothing like his, but suffers from the same restlessness of the human heart. We live in an age of speed. Our phones buzz, our screens glow, our days are filled with deadlines and noise. We chase success, wealth, and recognition. We cling to the illusion of control, believing that if we can only manage every detail, we will finally feel safe. finally. Feel happy, and yet, the more we chase, the more tired we become. Anxiety rises, relationships strain, and a quiet emptiness lingers beneath all the noise. Here, Buddhism enters not as a foreign philosophy, but as a gentle friend. Its voice whispers across centuries, stop chasing, stop resisting, let go, breathe, return to this moment. This is why mindfulness has found its way into schools, therapy rooms, hospitals, and even boardrooms. A CEO pauses before making a decision, breathing mindfully. A child learns to close her eyes and find calm before an exam. A patient in pain discovers that by observing each breath, suffering softens, even if only for a moment. Beyond mindfulness, Buddhism's influence is seen in art, design, and lifestyle. Minimalism, living with simplicity, choosing only what is essential, echoes the Zen way of uncluttering both outer space and inner mind. Practices of compassion and kindness inspire movements of social justice, reminding us that true progress is not measured only by technology or profit, but by the well-being of all beings in times of division. Buddhism's teaching of interconnection shines like a lantern. It reminds us that we are not separate. Suffering is my suffering. Your joy is my joy. In a fractured world, this truth is medicine. It invites us to look beyond labels, beyond race, beyond borders, to see each other simply as fellow travelers on the path of impermanence. And yet, Buddhism does not ask us to abandon our lives. It does not tell us to retreat to caves or temples. It tells us to bring awareness into the lives we already live, to eat with gratitude, to listen with presence, to love without fear. It reminds us that enlightenment is not something far away, is here in every step, every breath, every act of compassion. So as we end this journey, let us pause together. Let go of the endless chase for control. Let go of the belief that peace lies somewhere outside, in the future, in the next achievement, in the next possession. Peace is already here. It has always been here. It waits quietly beneath the noise of thought, beneath the weight of expectation, beneath the constant demand to be more. The Buddha's voice still echoes. Just be present. Just breathe. Just love when we release our grip, when we stop resisting, when we open to life as it is. We discover a freedom so profound it cannot be shaken by circumstance. A freedom that flows like water, soft but unstoppable, gentle but unbreakable. So, stop chasing control. Find peace in the letting go. Step into the river of this moment and let it carry you. For in surrender, you will find not weakness, but the greatest strength of all, the strength of peace.